Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakakadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles of Great Millstone, preaching His word, truthfully and sincerely. Shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching His word, truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim that be like unto the speckled bird, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And once again, shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And I say shalom to y'all out there. And this is another news article in the news on April the 17th, 2022. On this Sunday afternoon. And the highlight of this news article in the news for today is riots spread in Sweden. A man far right plans to burn the Koran. It says mobs of youth clash with police and set fire to vehicles in a bid to disrupt an anti-immigration party rallies. And this photo right here shows a police officer in riot gear stands in front of a burning bus on April the 16th, 2022 in Malmö, Sweden, chanting that word. Police cars set on fire and officers injured. This was the run-up to Easter look like in multiple towns and cities across Sweden this week, after the authorities gave a far-right anti-immigration group the go-ahead to stage rallies, which includes plan to burn the Koran. Unrest broke out on Thursday in the city of Limplin, where gangs of youth clashes with police, injuring 3 officers. At least 2 people were detained. And it says the violence was sparked by Swedish authorities' decision to grant permission for a series of anti-ISLAM rallies organized by Thomas Paulden, a right-wing Danish politician who was spent time in prison on racism-related charges. The events in various places across Sweden, which intend to feature the burning of ISLAM's holy book, the Koran. It says tensions came to a head on Friday when the Danish fire ban descended on the city of Örebro, while Paludan and his supporters were initially allowed to hold their rallies. It eventually had to be dissolved in the light of serious security situations. Mobs of rioters protesting against the far-right group pilled police with stones and set fire to 4 law enforcement vehicles. And this is a little quick clip of the video right here.
Kan man zooma in då? Ja, det gick.
Cut the volume out because I don't want to catch a flag or a claim copyright on my video. So yeah, that little 32-second clip shows you the little rioters, opposing the far right protests the far right groups was going to have, but they was interrupted by the opposing protesters, and that would dissolve the protesters of the alt right. And it says, so tensions was the situation that police had to fire warning shots at one point, as confirmed by the police spokesperson in Swedish media. While the police, uh, while the local police department, I meant to say, Slovakia, department initially spoke out of 4 injured officers and a bystander, and later updated the number, saying that about 10 colleagues had sustained injuries, according to the authorities. Some of the policemen take to the hospital and have been hit on the head, while others suspected arm fractures. Police described the event in Orebro as a violent riot. And here go another one right here too. I can't really understand that language. Seems like it's in Swedish, I believe. And this is a video I'm gonna show right here, but I'm gonna mute the volume because I want, I mentioned once again, I want no copy claim right or no flag on my channel.
Chance you remember who the Sox are playing? Oh, it's the Rays. Yes. Let's check in with White Sox reporter Alex Shapiro, who joins us via WebEx by Cisco.
Tony La Russa had an update for Joe Kelly's rehab today. He said in his late outing, Kelly was sitting through he was able to keep his stamina up too. For more details on Joe Kelly's rehab, check out NBCSportsChicago.com and the My Team channel.
That's good news on Joe Kelly.
So as you seen the little 45-second clip, this was reported on April 15, 2022 at 5:23 p.m. over there in Sweden. They had protesters throwing rocks at officials and stuff like that. And it says similar scenes played out in Sweden, the capital of Stockholm, as well as Malmö and Norrköping. On Saturday, unrest was reported in the town of Landkomsmo, with dozens of youth setting fire to vehicles, tires, and trash cans, according to the local police of the law enforcement personnel deployed in the town were harmed. As a result, officials noted that the tensions were gradually dying down. And this is another another video. So yeah, that was another 40-something second video, and you seen where cars were being burnt, sticks and gates are being torn down, and setting things on fire with this protest. Seemed like it lasted from Thursday all the way into Saturday over there in Sweden. And it says, according to the Expression newspaper, Paladin did manage to burn at least one copy of the Koran in Stockton, Kim Ringba, if I pronounced that right. district on Friday, a video was also posted on Twitter which appears to show him in the act, which I'm not going to show. It says explaining the decision to grant Paladin permission to hold the controversial rally across the countries in Sweden. Authorities city freedom of speech. Paladin anti-Islamic performance and sequence riot came ahead of Easter during the month of Ramadan.
That would be nice. Are you seeing anything? Do you have an envelope over your head there, Danny Carson?
So yeah, that goes to show you the increase of the nations against nations going at against one another, in many different categories. You can put it into from an economic standpoint, from doing protests. It could be from a verbal standpoint or to a physical standpoint. So these nations against nations, it can be in those categories that I put, and there should be uproars of the people as well too. That's why you're seeing these continuing uproars. I believe this same situation happened about a couple of years ago over there in Norway. The guy, he had the book, and I believe, I don't know, they was Arab or something like that. And the guy, he burnt the book, and the guy he did like a kick on him. It was kind of like a Liu Kang flag kick or something like that. But this was the same situation that happened like a couple of years ago. I believe, I don't know if it's the same guy, about the controversial, as I was just reading through that news article. I remember that for sure. He was in Norway, and he did the same thing, burnt the book of the belief of what the people of the Arabs, of what they believe in, and many other groups as well too, of different nationalities, of the Koran, he the far right group member burnt the book. So that lets you know the increase of nations should rise against nations, and then you're starting to see that. Even this from a physical standpoint, economic standpoint, or verbal, physical, it could be in many different categories of the increase of the nation should rise against nation. And I'm gonna bring out the scripture and retains to what these protests happened over there in Sweden over the weekend. So this is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 9, verse 3, and it reads, "Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars in the people of the world," right? That's what you're seeing with these protests around the world, and it's increasing. It's going to further and more increases. You're going to see protests in the last days, even though we're so accustomed to used to seeing like protests around the world, especially going against the political leaders and their figures and their political leaders of these countries, and you have peoples of these citizens. They oppose against their political leaders doing these things into law, So they oppose it, and they do uproar protest over it. That's why you're gonna see more continue of uproars in the people in the world today. And it's gonna further to increase in the last days. And I'm gonna bring out 2nd Ezra 15 and Matter of fact, verse 15, second Ezra chapter 15, verse 15, and it reads, "For the sword and draw nigh destruction, let me read that again. Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 15, for the sword and there draw nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against one another with swords in their hands." Right, even though it's physical, it's physical, like with the protesters and stuff like that. It's gonna get to a point when these uproars or these protests, it's gonna get physical. Because the modern day sword is the gun. Because in ancient time they used to use swords and stuff like that. Hey, they go use both guns and swords in that time. Because we are, approaching in those times. In verse 16 in the book of Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 16, and it reads through the Holy Scriptures. "For there shall be sedition among men, invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor their princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power right. And a man should die." It says, "And a man should desire to go in a city and shall not be able to." Right. There's going to be times when similarities what's going on over there in Shanghai. Those people are, peoples are kind of losing their mind over there, and they doing protests over there as well too. Because with the tighter restriction of lockdowns of the COVID-19, the cases were going up and stuff like that. Believe it was last week or so. You had one so-called Chinese, which they are the Moabites. That's their true nationality. You had one Moabite in the street was saying how can he pay his mortgage and his rent and stuff like that. He was losing his cool, because those tightened restrictions. That's why it says in the book of Second Ezra 15 and verse 17, in that day of trouble, a man should desire to go in a city and be not able to. What's going on there in Shanghai, that's a prime example. You're going to see the prime example of more of these in the last days as well too, because we are living in biblical prophecies. Now back to the matter at hand of what I was the sit down lesson, So yeah, you're gonna see more increase of sedition among man, invading one another. You're gonna see that, and the nation shall rise against nation, further to increase as well too. So with that, I hope this quick sit down lesson was edifying through the spirit, power, grace, and mercy of Yahweh Yahushua. And first and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Wakar Kadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles, great millstone, pushing his word truthfully and sincerely. Shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching his word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, that be like unto the speckled bird, preaching his word truthfully and sincerely. And until next time, before I close out this sit-down lesson on this April the 17th, 2022, on this Sunday afternoon at 2:45 p.m. Central Standard Time, like I mentioned before, the title of this introduction lesson, hey, in the last days, you're going to see more uproars in the people of the world, and they're going against each other as well too, with the nation shall rise against nation and the kingdom against kingdom. It's going to further increase in the last days, And so with that, I would say shalom and the ball.